Bitcoin, pump, altcoins, pump.
Crypto whales signal higher. They are buying. Are they stacking back in? Are altcoins about to rip? Ethereum is moving off exchange rapidly. What are we doing about it? We got to make sure that we're doing everything in our power to make sure that we get into the market in the right way. Let's go. What's up, everybody? How you doing? Good morning, good afternoon, good night. We got some major things we got to talk about today with Bitcoin and Ethereum and what that means for what's going on in the crypto market, because we're seeing the signals that it's time to move higher in the very imminent future. But we see Link is down on the day. Oh my God. Meanwhile, we have Link setting up for some major moves going into the end of the year. We also see Bitcoin setting up in such a beautiful fashion. We see the others chart setting up for the altcoins in general to absolutely have some rippage to the upside. And beyond that, I just hope all of you are hitting that like button, hitting that retweet button, hitting that share button over on at Kellam or at Academy BitLab. We have some major things we got to discuss today. So let's get into it. We got to talk about what these signals are and why I think the crypto market is about to move so much higher. So with that being said, let's dive into it, because we got some major things. The DeFi plays making some major moves this morning, like Aave. Quant even making a bit of a move here. Sui up 2.5%, but Curve and Aave being the largest movers. Why is that? Well, we had the Genius Coin bill not pass yesterday. Everybody thinks it passed. No, it passed cloture, which means now it's going to move to the floor for debate. So it can potentially actually get passed. But we're seeing some green, throughout the chart, and a little bit of red throughout the chart. On the weekly chart, still a lot of red across the crypto ecosystem. On the hourly, we've seen a little bit of a bounce right now. So let's go over and look at what the coin market cap is right now on the coinmarketcap.com and see where we're at. We're at $3.31 trillion crypto market cap, 68 on the fear and greed sale. This is getting to the point where this may need a little bit of a flush out to potentially get that move higher. But generally speaking, we are in that move right now with Bitcoin and the crypto market that is looking more and more like we're about to see an absolute bullish summer. Do you guys remember? Think about this. So many people talk about sell in May and walk away. Well, what about DeFi summer? You guys forget that? Or is it actually something super bearish right now, looking at what's going on in the market coming into May? When you look at the data, and you realize in the data that there's nothing that really evidently shows that it's really a sell in May sort of scenario, especially when you look at the S&P 500 and realize that since 2016, S&P 500 has only had 2 red months during the May to July period. Beyond that, we showed you the data about 2 weeks ago with Bitcoin. It's no clear signal that it's a sell in May signal. Every time May into the summer, it's going to have flat or downside price action. No, that is not a clear signal. Sell in May is a fallacy based on market meltdown that happened back really in 2022 when we just had the cascading collapses throughout the market. When we go back and look at the Bitcoin chart and realize there's some key things we want to pay attention to. The FTX bottom here down at $15,600. This marked also the breakout of this, the start of the bull trend. We had the ETFs, which were one of the most bullish things in recent history or total history of Bitcoin. And where we see a sell-off and price action, there is a lesson there. The most bullish thing ever, we got a sell-off. This is when the weak hand sold, only to have market rip higher. And then what we see, the Japanese yen carry trade. This is this fiasco that went from $70,500 all the way down to $49,000. Major sell-off, only ended up being a springboard up. Trump got elected, the new crypto-friendly administration. Boom, what we see, massive speculative pump here, but also just buying pressure pump into the peak, $109,000, which was on Inauguration Day. Now we got the sell-off. Okay, retested previous range highs, only to then springboard off of this from this bullish divergence. And currently, I want you to notice something. And all of this movement, very important, in all of this movement, this very bullish trend, what do we see? At this point, look at this, 5,000. What is this? This is a $5,000 swing in price action that is not even noticeable on this chart. That's where we're at with Bitcoin. That's where we're at with the crypto market. The market is so large. We can have a $5,000 swing in price action, and it's not even recognizable on the chart. It just looks like a minuscule blip on the radar. Now, if we get down to the 4-hour charts, and we're going to do a lot of TA here in a few minutes, but this is that zoomed in. $5,000 from up here, $107,000 all the way down to $102,000. You see right here, boom, just a washout up, washout down. Now coming back up, starting to, what's going to happen? Well, we're going to dive into that here in just a second, because are there clear signals right now that there's a buy opportunity? Well, let's get into it. Before we do, shout out to everybody that is here. Welcome to the BitLab Academy stream. My name is Kellam. Hope you're all doing well. Hope you're finding gratitude today. Hope you're feeling some sort of way with a spark in you, so you're not an energy drain on the rooms that you enter. I want you to be positive impact where you go, and all you got to do is find some gratitude. Look for the good in people when you talk to them. Compliment people on the positive things you see in them. If you're looking for the good, you're going to find the good rather than being focused on the bad. And in the charts right now, when we're looking at these markets, I see good, baby. I see green. I see positive action in this price action, especially when you zoom out on this 3-day chart, looking at the macro all the way from the cycle bottom all the way up on the sort of stair-stepping faction that we're seeing. And what we're looking for is these next legs to the upside, breaking past this mega pump gateway at 110,000, coming up here to the 2.618 target out of this move right here, which is about 164,000. And then up here to the 3.618, 204,000, then the 4.618. Are we going to get it? Now this 4.618 is from this fib measured move. If we look at this, this is what I'm talking about. Measure there, boom, just like that. You see 4.618, 242. But the more prescient fib target we can look at is if we come just like this from this top, boom, to the bottom, and we measure that out, and we realize there's a couple overlapping fibs here. Just notice the 2.618 is right in line with this 2.618 out of this. It's, basically splitting the difference. Coming up into this 3.61 or 4.618 is just shy of the 4.618 on the macro move as well. But the point here is what is happening in the near term. What is the signal? What is going to happen next? Well, when we zoom out and we realize that there are no tops in sight based on the on-chain data, based on what's happening with this DA Prof's Bitcoin top indicator, this also, boom, this is showing the start of parabola that ended up being near a top. We signaled this here, which ultimately was a little too early. We had that sideways consolidation. But what we're seeing right here on the bottom, none of these reached up into the peak. This was a peak, but look, this was what most people consider the cycle top to be. Okay, this was a peak here. That was a peak. This was a peak, and this was a pretty big sell-off peak here. We had a double peak back here, 2013 into 2014. But we have not gotten anywhere near this overheated zone in the market this cycle. So let's pay attention to that. What would be signaling higher prices right now? Is it going to happen? Or is this just going to be a very melted out, frustrating cycle top, and it's not going to go any higher? Well, what do we see? We see right here, the whales are entering shorts again across multiple exchanges. That's not good. Whales are entering shorts. However, I think this is more of a trap setup than actually the market having the actual top in sight. Why is that? Because we're seeing a nonstop flood of bullish information in terms of new capital channels, new interest points, and the actual scaling in of institutions when we're looking at the Bitcoin strategy platform, looking at those number of institutions that have entered the market. And it's not just Bitcoin, it's Ethereum as well. In fact, we've seen major signal on Ethereum. If we come over here, where is that chart right here? Looking right here, Ethereum supply on exchanges drop as price climbs. Over 1 million ETH. About 5.5% of exchange-held supply was withdrawn from centralized exchanges in the past month. People are moving off of exchange into their own private storage in preparation to what? Not sell. If you're moving off exchange, you're saying, hey, I'm putting this into the shed because I'm not going to play with it right now. Meaning play, meaning sell. This is looking like bullishness abound in the market. Now, beyond that, okay, we're seeing some short positions enter, but Beyond that, we already showed you last week. If we come over here and zoom out on this, actually not last week, yesterday, we saw the large amount of accumulation that was happening in the market. Where is it at? I got it right here. My bad. Where is it? It'll be in bookmarks. My apologies. Right here. The large amount of accumulation happening across over 10,000, 1 to 10,000, 100 to 1,000, 10 to 100, and also the less than one. We're seeing accumulation coming in right now. There's a lot of whale games going on in the market, but we're seeing accumulation while we're also seeing whales are shorting. I don't believe this for 1 second. In fact, if they do short and the market does drop, great. I will be so thankful and grateful that we have opportunity at lower prices if they come. Now, continuing on, what else we got? We got this. When the cup and handles hit with precision, we're looking at gold here, and then we're also looking at Bitcoin. We saw this cup and handle formation, and the price action on gold has already hit this. We're also seeing the global liquidity rise, and Bitcoin, when you adjust that 100-day sort of differential, Bitcoin is tracking that perfectly, which would suggest there is plenty of upside still to come. And when we look at Bitcoin, massive cup and handle or inverted head and shoulders, however you want to look at it, it's going to be the same measurement. We see the target out of this is up here basically at $300,000. Do you think we're going to get 300? I think it's very possible. My conservative estimate would be somewhere between 180 to 210. My realistic estimate where I really think it could go is in that 264 kind of range. If we start to see the flood of buying purchases coming in and the schedule buying from corporations and governments and sovereign bodies and pension funds and sovereign wealth funds, if we see that flood truly come in the next 12 to 18 months, I think 300 and above is even possible. So we have to pay attention to this. Don't just be hyperbolic and not sell until it's, those targets. If you're trading these things, I don't think you should ever sell Bitcoin. But if you're trading these things, always look for a laddering out stair-step process of where you can take some exits along the way, because it might not even hit 260. It might only go to 180, reverse back down to 100, $80,000 drop there. That'd be major, right? It's very well could be in the cards. You have to trade this smart. But how's everybody doing today? I mean, I'm doing well. The markets are feeling good. We're getting so enamored with price action, and then remembering that this is a $5,000 price swing and we can't even see it on the chart. When you zoom out, you see the clarity for what's going on. And we're going to dive in and look at some more TA here in a few minutes. But notice this move is only tested this previous range highs from the range back here in basically the end of April. Project this previous resistance out. Perfect retest here. Now, if this does break down and loses 102,000, not the end of the world. We're just going to be watching for a likely retest back down here, basically around the $100,000 to $98,000 level, if that happens. But we're going to get back over here and look at this in a second, as well as Ethereum. What's happening with Ethereum, which is a very bullish setup. We're also seeing some greatness on Ondo. We're also seeing some nice signs and signals on Link, on Arrow. It's kind of looking a little weaker, but is there something setting up? We're going to talk about that and more. Solana also looking very bull flaggy, looking like it wants to still test a little bit lower, but we're going to get to that in just a few minutes. But the signal here with gold leading, as well as the global liquidity leading moves to the upside, and Bitcoin yet to follow, I think there's so much more upside that we can expect here in the near future. Now, beyond that, we also see Bitcoin is on track to surpass $1 trillion of invested capital this year. Still, we have only seen orderly accumulation so far. This cycle hasn't yet seen a vertical climb marking investor FOMO. We have not seen that FOMO yet. In fact, we had Kevin Svensson on the show yesterday. For those of you that missed that, essentially what he was outlining is if you look at Bitcoin, let's turn on the Heikin-Ashi candles, make it a bit clearer. We're going to go to the 3-day chart, and I just want you to notice once we got up to the previous all-time high, which is right here, option J, we're going to do the last cycle as well, which is right here. I just want you to notice something. We had a little bit of struggle at the previous all-time high, but then boom, once we actually got through it, it just melted to the upside and then continued. What did we see in the last cycle? We had a little hesitation and then it just melted to the upside. Why would that be? Because at this point, this is a lot of smarter money all the way even up into this point. You start getting a little bit more retail weekend demand. But this is where you get the free press conferences from mainstream news media, financial, the word of mouth on the street, everybody talking about Bitcoin and crypto prices, because this is when FOMO sets in. Everyone's like, can you believe it's this high? And in this case, this means once we break past $110,000 level, which I kind of have playfully listed here as a mega pump gateway, it's because this is when you start getting all that free press of, can you believe how high is Bitcoin gonna go? And then you get the retail FOMO coming in, which is when you start to see this, the investor FOMO, which starts to show you this melt to the upside. Looking at this, the melt to the upside. This is when you get that. We have not gotten that yet. I still think it is very much in the cards. So let's stay tuned for that, because we're seeing, this is kind of like what we're seeing right here, kind of like what we're seeing right here. And we have yet to get that melt to the upside of the new capital coming in. Beyond that, consider what's not just in the next week or month. Let's think about the next 5 to 10 years and where Bitcoin and crypto is going. It's going so far beyond what even all of you that are Bitcoin lovers, crypto lovers, and you're so excited. Consider looking beyond the 15-minute, the 4-hour, the 1-day, the 3-day, the weekly chart. Considering the wealth transfer that's coming, and just take a listen to this. We're not going to listen to the whole thing, but listen to what he's saying. $150 trillion of wealth is soon to be transferred to the 40-year-olds, the 30-year-olds, 20-year-olds. Let's talk about that. What does it mean? Especially when the focus of the basically 45 and below, those people that are going to basically get this $150 trillion in wealth transfer, where's their focus going to be? Yes, it's going to have some on Vanguard. Yes, it's going to have some on some traditional investments, but there's going to be a growing amounts of focus and vision around Bitcoin and the digital asset economy beyond what we're just seeing in the legacy investing protocol. So when we're seeing $150 trillion in wealth coming to this age group, what does it mean?
So they're leaving the stage, Jerome, in 10 years, all together. Are you with me so far? That's $150 trillion of wealth, $50 trillion created in the last 25 years. You're going to have $100 trillion wealth transfer in the next 10 to 20 years. $15 trillion of that is business assets. The people who own these assets, they're going to give the inheritance, the cars, the houses, the stocks, the bonds, the cash to their husbands, their wives, their children. The family don't want the businesses. They're like, we good. That's too much work. These are successful businesses with brands. They have assets, cash flows, customer lists. Thomas, when I'm talking about you, they're perfectly fine.
So $150 trillion in assets, houses, cars, investment portfolios, all this going to be transferred to a basically younger generation, the generation below them, kids, people my age. I'm 41, people 41 to 49, all the way down to 30 to have the end of the baby boomer generation, baby boomers as well, but the end of that baby boomer generation, that 65 to 90 age range, as those people pass on and they pass down their wealth, a good percentage of that, whether it's 3% or 15%, nobody knows, is going to roll over into the crypto ecosystem. And so when we're looking at Bitcoin and we're wondering what's happening today, it's kind of silly of us to think that, because this is a $5,000 swing that we cannot even see on this chart. We cannot even recognize that $5,000 move when we realize where we came from not so long ago. At the beginning of 2023, price was about $16,500. And now we're at $105,250. And we're worried? No, guys, we need to stop messing around and realize what is on the horizon in this market, because it is nothing short of overwhelmingly substantial. And that doesn't even account for the corporate money and the government money coming in. But what about the fear on the economy? Well, let's look at the S&P 500. We had a massive sell-off. Look at this. Boom, V-shaped recovery, a little bit of hesitation here. Oh, that's the top. It's going to, and then what happened? Melted, continued to the upside. Same thing's happening here. It's looking like a setup for. We need to make sure that it still happens, but if this does continue up, we have a little bit of trouble here like this. Once we reach this high again, I do think, much like JP Morgan said the other day, They think that we're done with the correction and we'll likely be seeing higher prices, all-time highs here in the near future in the stock market. So when we consider what we're looking at, let's actually look at this really quick. When we're looking at Bitcoin and the crypto assets, and we realize Bitcoin versus S&P 500, when we pull this up, you realize massive sell-off in S&P 500. Bitcoin held up beautifully because Bitcoin is a little different than S&P 500 because it just entered the world stage. So it's beautiful that this held up as it did. Held up beautifully, and now we're seeing massive pumpage on the S&P 500, and we're seeing the stock market sort of disregard some of the FUD that happened. They've priced in the likelihood of rate cuts at some point this year, as well as what's happening with the trade, basically the tariffs, sell off on the tariffs. But then now it's looking like all of those things that everybody was just trying to decimate Trump for making bad economic vision. The economists now are saying, well, damn, we did not believe the CPI was going to come in lower. The inflation is going down. We're seeing the trade deals come in. We're seeing a better situation than a lot of economists were predicting, as if, I don't know, was it just pure FUD that they're looking at? Or is it that Trump was doing something that nobody had really actually attempted? So there was no model for it. And now we're seeing large rebound and Bitcoin also pushing up. At the same time, we are seeing the global liquidity melt to the upside. We're seeing it melt up, not just in the US, because the US hasn't done Fed printing yet. They're doing some stealth quantitative easing, doing treasury buybacks, all these sorts of things. But it's also a signal for some trouble across the world. But we're seeing, what is this? We're seeing the money supply of PBOC, the Bank of China, Bank of Japan, Bank of England, Reserve Bank of Australia, Bank of Canada, Bank of Russian Federation, Bank of Brazil, Bank of Mexico. Those have been printing so much without the US really printing in this period. We're seeing a lot of injection of new liquidity into the market. And this has a very strong magnet effect of also finding its way into Bitcoin and other assets, especially as people find out how devaluing this money printing is, which is becoming more and more known. So when we look at Bitcoin and we realize that we've had, these things, well, what does it look like for where we're at right now? Let's get into it. Let's look at some coins. Let's look at Bitcoin. Let's look at Ethereum. Let's look at some top alts, because I do think we're going to see some major upside throughout this summer into the end of the year. Does that mean there's not going to be downside? There's going to be downside, but those are opportunity zones. So Lotus Pond says, millennial millionaire, shout out to you. Constant political attacks on Trump and his admin. It never stops. And yet there's no looking in the mirror for that side. They won't attend to the massive conspiracy of lies that they put out over the last 6 years and beyond. But that's just crazy. Anyone shorting? Hell no, I'm not shorting. I'm only looking for dip buying opportunities. So let's look at this. Okay, we got the swing up, bull trap, swing down, bear trap into a W pattern, boom, 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 right on a known level of support. Now a break back to the upside, and now we have a higher low. Cool. This got a little scary here, right? But it did not break below the level of support we had on the chart. But then this is where we're at right now. We're kind of in a unclear zone, because this doesn't give a lot of clarity other than the underlying bullishness of the market for what's to come, especially with the Genius Act getting put now past enclosure to go to a floor debate. Still needs to pass though. We got to watch what's happening here, but we're seeing Ethereum. Nice expansion to the upside. Much smaller expansion here. So this already looked weak. Large expansion, much smaller expansion. And in that time period, what do you notice? The RSI gave us a signal there. The RSI showed lower high. The RSI showed lower highs right in here as this was pushing higher, showing some bearish divergence. Now with that, our Ethereum did break down. But in breaking down, this has formed a descending broadening wedge, which tend to break to the upside. Now, will this need one more swing down? Well, as we see right here, this is much lower low when you look at these price actions right here. What do you see on RSI? You see the RSI flat. So essentially you have a bullish divergence here. And what'd you get? Nice little jump on Ethereum to the upside and a small dip. Now, is this the end of the world? No, because what we're seeing is sort of a really fat left shoulder ahead. And if we find some support here with the bulls, then what we would actually have is not only a descending broadening wedge, which is bullish, we also have an inverse head and shoulder potentially forming. And if this does round out somewhere, somewhere about right here, staying above 2,400, then this will be an inverse head and shoulder, which would then target the next move. Let's go ahead and measure that out. It would target the next move up to 28, basically 28.52, which is also the previous range high of this falling channel. So that would be a great start. And this is right in that box that we targeted it, basically when it broke out of this falling channel, we targeted coming up into, and we're doing exactly what I thought. And I discussed this about a month and a half ago, 2 months ago. If we come up into the zone, it's going to need to do some work before it continues up. What we got pushed up, now doing work. So it's basically right on target. ETH to Bitcoin looks exactly the same. This is beautiful. If this can find a bit of a bottom here very soon and start to work its way back up, then also this would suggest that ETH is also going to continue or start again breaking up a little bit faster than the price action of Bitcoin. We don't know if it's going to happen or not, but the setup is here. Ondo, falling wedge with a couple ugly, we can actually readjust this just so it's a little more clear. Yeah, falling wedge, falling channel, they basically the same story. But we have these two lows. See this low? And then this low right here, much lower low, meaning the price is, look, 90 cents. And then down here, it's 88 cents. The lows are getting lower in price. At that time period, the RSI, the strength didn't fall as much. So now the underlying activity and strength behind the buying and selling pressure within Ondo is stronger here, although price is lower. This is known as a bullish divergence. So price fell while strength increased, suggesting a little bit of a pop. What we got a little bit of a pop. Came back down. Now we're finding kind of a bit of a equilibrium at this point. If we can hold this zone, great. We're watching for another test back up to 95 cents. If this breaks out, then I'm targeting back up here to about $1.03. But at some point, when if this does happen, if it pushes out, I'm watching for some sort of retest and then continuation, or an explosion up and then a retest back to about this level here. So either this small push up, retest launch, or larger push up, retest back into basically this chop zone right in here, about 98 cents. And then we'd like to see this take out the dollar level and continue. Link has just been frustrating us, right? But notice, as frustrated as you want to be with Link, notice that we have a multi-year giant symmetrical triangle here that is coming into the apex. We already had one deviation breakout up, which was a bull trap, came back down, came right back into the zone, found support exactly on the trend line that we've had drawn since 2020 is where it started. Test here, 2023, in May of 2023, test here again in September of 2023, and then tested here again in July of 2024, tested here again in March of 2025. We're kind of coming into the chop zone, sort of the apex of where the strong breakout likely will come in the very near future. We're seeing an increase. We're seeing, the strength is trying to fight its way to stay above this 50 line. We're on the 3-day chart, meaning, especially on the weekly, the 3-day, and the daily, it gets more important the higher you go up. But on the 3-day, if the RSI, the strength, is able to break above this 50 line, which is roughly about right there. You see, I'm looking at the numbers on the right. So breaking above this and finding support above the 50 line, meaning you're more dominantly bullish in strength across a decent period of time, the 3-day chart. If this maintains and we can see the RSI continue to break up, this is indicating not only is this inverse head and shoulder, and also the falling wedge that's coming down to test this, basically the neckline of this inverse head and shoulder, signaling more and more likely that we're going to get the breakout to the upside in the near future. If the RSI loses this 50 line, that means that we're actually going back into the bears kind of dominating the strength or weakness of where we're at. So let's look at this on the daily chart. Okay, same thing. Look, it broke up above the 50, found support, broke back up. It's testing the 50 line again on the daily. So in the next 2 or 3 days, a little unclear. but dominantly it's trying its best to hang on to bullishness. But if this does break down and start, this could bleed over into the 3-day chart, which means we may have another test back down here. Now, is that frustrating? Sure, in the very immediate near term. However, this would mean that you'd have another opportunity to swing at Chainlink potentially as low as $11. If this does break down, I would actually be targeting right here about the 13 to 1250 sort of range. But I'm leaning more bullish. The charts are feeling more bullish. The data is feeling more bullish. We got the Bitcoin conference coming up, but it's always funny how you have a big conference and that's when markets try to take their biggest spill to frustrate people when everybody's getting together. But Arrow, this doesn't look as good as we saw on Link. See this? Inverse head and shoulder, breakout, testing neckline, potential launch. Aerodrome does kind of have a reversal pattern with a V-shaped recovery. And it's still bullish. It just doesn't look as bullish on the chart formation. That's a 3-day chart. What I'd like to see here, this looks kind of like a broadening wedge. What am I talking about? There's that. See that? It's looking like it wants to take a swing lower, potentially here into this zone right here, this 52 cent, 53 cent zone, right where I have this area marked. If the market has that sort of move to the downside. If the market gets that jolt, if Bitcoin starts to push and Ethereum starts to push, then these targets are going to be ignored. This is going to find support in the zone that it's in now. It's going to push up into the 65 cent, maybe a little rejection, but then start making its way to test this 78 cent level here. And then ultimately this very important level, 93 cents. Why is that? Because we have a trend line that comes all the way back here to March 2024, July 24, September 24. And that's going to be kind of, this zone is going to be the gateway for higher prices if it can get through that. Currently on the daily, we're kind of hanging out, trying to stay bullish, but it's already below the 50 line, which is not the end of the world. But if this can round out and get a leg, then we're going to get more bullishness. As it stands right now, it's looking kind of uncertain. Tensor, BitTensor Tau. Kind of looks a little bit like we saw on Arrow, where you have this large move, smaller move, falling wedge. If we lose this zone right here, then I'm looking for a bit lower, 350, 340, and then potentially down to about 311. But as it stands right now, this is looking stronger because this is above that 50 line. This is looking, you see how it's finding support, pushes back up, finding support above. This is a 50 line right here. See, I'm just looking when I move my mouse, you see the numbers change. If this can maintain this, then this may have one more swing low and maybe it doesn't break down. Maybe it has a swing low that finds support again here on this basically 400, 390 to 400, this zone right here that we already have marked out on the chart. So this is that area of interest. But if this is able, let's look at the 4-hour chart. So we have lower lows here, 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 while at the same time, we're seeing the RSI finding some support, showing some bullish divergence. Now this is pushed up. Where? Right into the range of where this previous range low was. So if this is the move, if this was a washout and, for instance, Bitcoin starts pushing up to 108, 109, 112 and beyond, then this will very likely get a move outside of this, find support, and then continue up. Because we got the bullish divergence on the 4-hour. On the daily, we have the RSI well above the 50 line. And it's, the AI narrative is strong right now. Constellation DAG. Okay, we have the falling channel. Broke out, but it's kind of a weak breakout. Broke out. This is that retest. If we can hold here, option T, get a trend line. If this can hold here, then we're watching for another test at the 5 cent mark, 5 cent to 5.2. If this area is cleared, then I think we're going to see a pretty big move. This is the area I'm talking about. If this area is cleared, I think we'll see a pretty big move, like a bounce here into this zone. If this is cleared, I think we'll see a pretty big move and start making our way back towards, the 7 cent and then up here into the 9 cent. Injective. Okay, we got the large move, inverted head and shoulder, boom, move out, came down to try and retest this neckline didn't quite get there, but this could be satisfactory. Why? Because RSI is also above the 50 line. It's looking more bullish than bearish. However, at the same time, this did come right into a zone and come down. It has not really tested this level, which I'd like to see. If the market as a whole starts to get some movement, let's look at CMF, checking money flow. Okay, if you double click on this, it pulls up the settings. I like to go here to area, makes it a lot more clear. Okay, so we do have positive money flow here. Positive money flow is kind of ticking. It's ticked up and maintaining up. So we're watching this to reclaim $13.42 to $14. Basically the mid 13s to $14. This is going to be that sort of pathway, except if you look, there's a bit of a zone right here from this high and these lows to also all of these lows. So this not only needs to reclaim this $14 range, it's got to really do the work to get through this $15 to $16 range, which is a pretty big shelf of all this price action of lows previously. This is really what we're watching for. Screw the top here. There's so many chop lows previously, and then also the chop zone right in there. This is area Injective wants to get through before it can make that next leg up into the 26s and beyond. Solana, let's talk about Solana. Okay, remember 35x from down here all the way up here. Look at that, 3,500, 3,500%. Actually, it's about 36, almost 37. But we had a big sell-off. This is just following that Trump coin launch. Boom, sucked liquidity out of the market after that. And then we got a breakout of this. It retested right back into this chop zone. We had this marked out on the charts before it happened. It came down into it. Now, boom, this is looking good. Reversal, V-shaped recovery. A bit of a bull flag here. Push up. Where did it stop? Right on the target from 2021 to all of these rejection, support. And now look, rejection again. It's not the end of the world. Got a bit of a bull flag here. If this were to take precedent, then the next target will be up here at about $227, which is right in line with all of this chop over here. We can actually drag this out. See the support, rejection, support, rejection. This is the next target on this bull flag as well. So you see that? So we're kind of looking for that. If this does have a little bit of a swing low, I'd be watching at 155, which is this top, support, rejection. This, which already looks like it kind of bounced, and the money flows positive. RSI is sitting well above the 50 line, but it does look like it's losing a little momentum. I think the market's just kind of questioning what's going to happen. Is the trade deal going to happen? It's not. Feeling good, looking good. Stacks looking nice, rounding bottom. Nice rounding bottom. Bull flag a lot weaker here, but money flows up pretty strong. So if this does take a move to the downside, I'd be watching right here. I'd be watching a retest at 75 cents. If this loses, then I think we're going to be taking another swing lower, and it would be coming down to about 66 cents here. But again, it's looking a little bit more dominant. However, this is testing that 50 line, AKA the more bullish area, the market being more bearish area. So this is trying to trap people. Yeah, guys, the bullishness is here, man. Avalanche rounding out, higher low, higher low, higher low. If this can maintain this and not break down a little bit further, if this can maintain this, because this is looking like a bit of a falling wedge like this. See that? If this can maintain this zone that it's kind of found a bottom in, then I do think we're going to be testing back up here to the 25s. And if we could take this out, retest, then I think we're going to be going to 36 level. But everything's feeling like it's very bullish. It's very primed. It's feeling set up for that next leg to the upside. It's just not quite taking the swing yet. So there we go. Multi-sig dummy said massive squeeze coming, Kelly. Trust me, bro. Well, hey, I don't know. Well, let's see. Arrow shows how much trust there is out there. Yeah. Let's see. Caspa. Let's look at Caspa before we go. Caspa. Let's look at this. We haven't charted this one in a minute. All right. We talked about this here when this was kind of rolling over. Talked about a lower target. What would it be? We had this line drawn out. Look at where it tested. Boom. W formation. You can't see it. The W formation. Boom. On the line that we projected out many months ago. Boom. Test. Boom. Came right into where? All these range low chop zones. Boom, boom, boom. So as it stands right now, this is actually looking pretty darn good. This is looking pretty good. Money flow's up, except the money flow came down very sharply back to the zero line, but the strength is still very high. What I'd be watching here if this took a swing lower is this zone right in here. Why? Because we see this is a regional idea, because this kind of bounced in here, this chopped right in here. But on the smaller time frame, that's a 3-day. On the smaller time frame, we do have a bit of a falling wedge, much like we're seeing on many alts. That is right here. Let me see. Okay. Now with that, we also kind of have a cup and handle, kind of. It's also an ugly inverted head and shoulders, shoulder, head, shoulder. And if that's the case, then what are we doing right now? All we're doing is retesting the breakout. Get the breakout, retest confirmation, and a falling wedge, but the money flow is right on the edge. But look at this big dip on money flow. If this is a smaller dip on money flow and we do get the break from here, then I'd be looking to test back to 12, 13 cents, 12.6 to 12.7 right here. Once that takes out, we're looking at 16 cents and the next leg up would be 20 cents. But I'm feeling good. Market's setting up. The bullishness just nonstop. Watch for some washout potential to the downside. I love you guys. I appreciate you guys. I hope you all doing well. Make sure we have the Discord going. The link is pinned in the top of the live chat. It should be, I think. I believe it is actually. Yeah. Pinned in the top of the live chat right here. Join the Discord. If you are a BitLab member, send us an email with your BitLab, with your Discord user ID. We can, that way you don't have to sign up again. You basically get grandfathered into the new Discord at the lower pricing. Hello, hint. So we just want to make sure you guys don't have to go and sign up and all this kind of stuff again. But the link is right here. Join Discord. Boom. This is a link. Just click on that. See, boom. If you're watching on Rumble, it's right here up in the top. That's how you join. Get in our Discord just to show you. I dropped a bunch of alpha in here in the Kelly's Alpha Hub Zone. This was just a chart I did yesterday, but I broke down what's going on in the market, what we're looking for, where we're at in the cycle, in the halving cycle, what's going on with capital flow, what's going on looking at from previous range lows of the cycle to where we're at now, what I'm expecting, and then also the setup for the future. And if we've been getting in the live trading room every morning, Drew and I and TJ, but it's mostly Drew and I in there every morning talking about what we're seeing in the market. So all you got to do is click on that link. If you want to get in free, you're not a BitLab member. If you want to get in free, all you have to do is join us at LBank. That link is also in the description right down here. See here, it says more. Trade with us on LBank. It doesn't matter if you already have an LBank that you signed up from somebody else. That's not going to get you access. You got to sign up with our link right here, because we verify your UID is under our link, and then you get access to the free the trading zone that we have on Discord, which is right here, BitLab Trading Hub. That's the access. This is where you get all the access there, and this is where we're in that live trading room right in here. We talk about everything, and then we got our portfolios, what's going on, DZ's drop zone. This is the paid area, so you don't get access to that. Druth, his stuff. What's up? General chat. We got it all in here. Where's my portfolio? Oh, here we go. We got the portfolio stuff going on in here. Everybody updating what's going on with their portfolio and why. Get in there. If you go and join that Discord and you're a BitLab member already, a paying BitLab member, send us an email at help@bitlabacademy.com or I think you can just send it there, help@bitlabacademy.com, and we will make sure that you get your UID added to the Discover Investment Group. So you get it, not have to sign up and pay again just to get all the rules. Big love to you. I love you guys. I hope you have a wonderful day. Hope you have an absolutely wonderful day. I'm going to send you over to the blockchain basement now. I'm going to make some steak to give to Drew as well. I can't wait to see some of you guys in Vegas. Adios, muchachos.